Welcome into the Tiger Kickoff show presented by the Columbia Missourian. You know the saying, roll tide, and well, that's what the Tide did. Rolled over the Tigers, held them to that many points, and we got our wonderful Missourian crew right here, and Adam Dusak, Davis Wilson, Amelia Hurley, to break it all down today. These three right here, they made the trip down to Tuscaloosa. How was the trip down south, Adam?
You know, Jacob, I think it was a good trip in general. I think football notwithstanding, I enjoyed my time in Alabama, Birmingham, just a really, really charming city. And that drive through, we went through Tennessee on the way back, just among the most beautiful states in the entire country. I had no complaints as far as going on the road went.
Especially those fall colors coming down. And nice weather out there, so it was like mid-80s, something like that.
Yeah, it was good. It was good weather, yeah. And we got to spend a little bit of time in Tuscaloosa before the game, walking around, seeing the tailgate scene, which was absolutely insane. I was a big fan of the stadium and the city itself. Obviously, the football game was pretty horrible, but I had a good time.
Now, talking college towns here, Amelia. Columbia, Missouri, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Where do they stack up?
You know, I'm a big fan of living in Columbia, so I got a personal bias to that. But I will say Tuscaloosa had some of the nicest buildings I've ever seen on a college campus. I mean, those were big and they were awesome. So I really like those as well.
All right, well, we got our small talk out of the way, and let's get down to business here. I don't know how much we want to get down to business with this Missouri loss. It was rough. Probably one of the most painful losses. It was the first time Missouri has been shut out by a AP top 25 team in a decade. So it was a rough one for the Tigers. What are your takeaways off the start? Obviously, Brady Cook, we talked about it. We kind of had a feeling that he would try to make a push to play in this game. He did start. He exited with a upper body injury. That's how it's described right now. Obviously, you can see it. His hand was hurt. But what did you see from this game, Adam?
Yeah, Jacob, quite frankly, I'm not sure that this game could have gone worse possibly. Like, this was, in all aspects, about as rough as you get, and that Brady Cook tries to go, and he can go in the game, and when he does play, the offense still looks disjointed. They can't move the ball. They don't put any points up, and then he gets hurt in a different way. So already he's dealing with this bum ankle, right? He's already dealing with this lower body injury that's stopping his ability to scramble in the pocket. And now you go out and maybe you possibly have a broken bone in his throwing hand, right? You can't run, you can't throw, you can't play. Simple as that. The offense looked awful again under Drew Pine. And yes, your defense looked decent, but your defense is not going to be able to carry you through an SEC slate of games. Frankly, it just isn't. If you cannot move the football, you're not going to win games the rest of the way. I think Missouri right now looks as bad as they have in quite some time, frankly.
Were you surprised, Davis, when you saw Cook? At first he was warming up out there, walked into the stadium without a boot, was throwing the footballs around, and then it later comes out that he is starting the game. Did that surprise you at all?
Not really. I kind of always expected he was going to try to play. I think you would have to do a lot to keep him off the field. He wants to play really badly, and so when he didn't come back in with his hand injury, I think that kind of signifies that the injury is something to be taken seriously. Because if he could have gone, he would have. And yeah, it's definitely just an unfortunate thing for him. Going in Alabama and coming out of there with a brand new injury is just really brutal.
Follow-up question for you here, Davis. Missouri starts the game offensively, 2 straight 3-and-outs. How did that kind of set the tone in Tuscaloosa?
Well, it set the tone. That's what it did. It just there seems to be something wrong with the offense. It's not the same offense. It's not the same play calls that we saw last year, and it's really a lot of the same talent, which is weird. Obviously, Cody Schrader's gone, but you have 2 pretty capable running backs in there. 3 if you count Jamal Roberts, who had a pretty good day actually. But there's something definitely really wrong with the way the offense is either calling plays or executing the plays, and that was really, really evident even with Brady Cook in there.
When Brady Cook comes out of that game, he banged his throwing hand on a helmet not once but twice. What was your instant reaction? Did you see it on his helmet, him get hurt, or did you think it was something with the ankle, or what was your instant reaction when you see Brady Cook all of a sudden leave this game, which was close in the first half? The defense did a good job in the first half. I think it was 13-0 was the score going into halftime.
Yeah, when Cook went off the field, I had assumed that he had re-aggravated his ankle injury. I didn't even realize that it was the hand, and then we found out that there was an upper body injury. We didn't even know that it was the hand at the time. we didn't really have any idea what was going on. We didn't know if he was going to come back in the game. And then obviously we saw Pine's performance. He said that he took all the first team reps that week. Drinkwitz said that as well. But to be honest, it just didn't really reflect on the field for me.
And the talk here from Missouri was the goals that Drinkwitz has established coming into the season were the college football playoffs. And with this loss, Missouri moves to 2 losses here in the SEC. They stand at 2-2. It becomes all that much more difficult. However, they did stay in the AP poll at 25. So, two-sided question. One, is this the back-breaking loss for the Tigers for their college football playoff hopes? And 2, should they be in the AP poll? Currently, that last spot, 25.
Two-sided question. I'll field the first question of the AP poll. Do they belong in it at 25? And in my opinion, no. They've had 2 losses, both of them on the road against ranked teams, to be fair, but they've looked awful in both of them. Frankly, they haven't had a game this season where they looked good against a caliber opponent. And I think that's been a disappointment, really, for Missouri this year. I was expecting them not to be ranked. It was a bit of a surprise that they remained in at that 25, but now I think that you have remained in the AP poll at 25. I think in the coaches poll you were 21. The expectations are a little bit different, right? If you had asked me immediately following this Mizzou game on Saturday, does this kill their chances to go to the college football playoff, I would have said yes. And then they stayed ranked in the AP poll, and then they stayed, on the cusp of that top 20 in the coaches poll. And you have a bye week, so going into the first college football playoff ranking, there's not really a chance for you to drop any further. I think there's probably a pretty good chance that they're sitting right around that 20 spot in the college football playoff. And obviously, you're going to be playing SEC teams the rest of the way. There's a chance to continue climbing. I don't think Missouri's chances to make the college football playoff are completely shot dead. Now, there's going to be a lot that has to happen between now and the end of the season for Missouri to climb 8 spots or 13 spots or whatever it may be to get back into that top 12 where they need to be. But I don't think it's impossible. It's been a weird year in college football, and I don't think it's out of the question quite yet.
A weird year is 100% right. We really don't know. I've seen so many articles online, not from you guys, but from other people, saying that Missouri's football hopes are dead for a college football playoff. And they have their reasons, and obviously their reasons have valid points, right? But like you just said, it has been such an odd year of college football. So much has gone down. There have been 4 teams that have held the AP poll 1 spot at some point in time. That's gotten all shaken up. So you don't really know what is going to happen for the remainder of this year. Heck, who would have thought coming into this year that Vanderbilt would have some quality wins like they do right now? So, Davis, question to you, still the same. Do they deserve to be in that AP poll 25? And are you in the same suit of Adam, thinking that they still have a shot, or are the Tigers' hopes dead?
Well, first of all, I don't think they deserve to be in the AP top 25. I think they looked, like Adam said, about as bad as they could have looked against Alabama. And, I mean, what were they at? They were at 21 or 19 when the game happened? What were they ranked? 20, 21?
21, yeah.
Yeah, they were ranked 21. I feel like a 34-0 loss is enough to just kick you out of the top 25 altogether. And I was pretty surprised that that's not what happened. In terms of the playoff, I think we're going to learn a lot about how the committee feels about Missouri when the first ranking comes out, because, if they're in that ranking, if they're hanging around, I think that means the committee still sees a path. They realize that Brady Cook didn't play, and when he did play, it was 6-0 when Brady Cook went out. So the game was close and winnable when Brady Cook exited. I'm not sure I would say they're completely dead. I would say they're going to need a lot of help from other teams. They're going to need to win out. I don't know that there's a really great win left on their schedule, so it's going to be really difficult. I'm very close to saying that the playoff hopes are dead, but I will not rule it out completely.
This was the thing that we were talking about on Thursday coming into this game, was that if Drew Pine starts this game, Missouri has an excuse. They can say, hey, our starting quarterback wasn't it, but because Brady Cook started that game, and he played, I believe it was 5 drives before he went out of the game, it hurts you a little bit because the Tigers didn't score any points. They had Cook for 5 drives, which is not a lot, but isn't nothing at the same time, and the offense still just did not look like they clicked. Or like we mentioned, the 2 3-and-outs to start the game. But over to you, Amelia. Same sentiment, Tigers don't belong in the AP top 25. Playoff hopes dead, or do you think the Tigers do belong there at the 25 spot?
So I'll start with that second question, the 25 spot. I don't believe that they belong in the AP poll at this point. The entire season, I think we've yet to see a Missouri team that has really played well all 4 quarters of an entire game. Now, that's not really speaking about the defense, because I actually think the defense had a really great game on Saturday. I'm more speaking about the offense. Got the offensive line that is just not doing it. You're forcing Cook to have to scramble constantly, trying to throw immediately, and then that's messing up routes to the receivers. It's messing up the passing game. It's just a mess. There's a lot of areas that's a mess. So no, I don't believe that they belong in the top 25, and I'm really surprised that after this was the first shutout loss that Missouri has had since 2019 against Georgia. I'm surprised that they stayed in this poll ranked. And I know that they beat Vanderbilt, but I think at this point, Vanderbilt is a better team than Missouri, at least from what we've seen over the past few weeks. So no, I don't think they belong in the top 25. As far as playoff chances, I'm going to have to say I do think that they are dead. Missouri doesn't have currently another ranked game for the rest of the season. There's not really any way to, unless you played like immensely and you shut out your opponents and you were just super strong, that you can really make a statement with that. And especially with how the game went with Pine, I know it's the backup quarterback, but Pine throwing 3 interceptions on 3 consecutive drives, I just don't see this Missouri team getting there. I don't think even with Cook that they had a single game that was extremely strong and like playoff contender worthy. So as much as I know we'd all love to cover a playoff game, I just don't see that happening for Missouri.
Yeah, Pine had 9 pass attempts. 3 of those were interceptions. So it was really rough. And the thing that you want to look at when you're ranking these teams is you're ranking teams. You're not ranking starters. You're ranking teams. You look at Texas. You look at Texas A&M. Those are 2 teams that lost their starting quarterback at the beginning of the year. And they had another guy ready, locked and loaded to go. Missouri did not. You'd think that Sam Horn was going to be that 1B guy, but obviously he has the baseball injury, and he's not playing quarterback. So when you're looking at these teams, depth does matter. Missouri, we talked about it on Thursday again. They had 12 key players out in this football game that played consistent reps, and obviously they weren't capable of having guys step up against what is a very good Alabama team, and it's a very hard challenge to have, and we talked about all these things, about this was going to be a real challenge for the Missouri Tigers. One interesting point, because all of you mentioned the offensive line. This offensive line unit was very good last year. There were several players up for the Joe Moore Award for best offensive line, and this year it has seemed abysmal against these powerhouse teams like Texas A&M, like Alabama, especially on the road when it comes to pass protection. So that's something to keep an eye on as the Tigers move forward. But we're bringing back this little button on there, red button, panic. We brought it out a couple times this year. We've clicked it. We haven't clicked it. We're going to get our status update, starting with Adam Busak over here on what his state of the Tigers is when it comes to the panic button. Adam?
If I can press this, I'm getting it close to the microphone. Hopefully you can hear how many times I'm pressing it. There is not a stage of panic that is strong enough for Missouri at this point in the season. If you are without Brady Cook for the remainder of the year because of the severity of this hand injury, and again, we don't know at this point how severe it is. We don't even really know what his hand injury is, other than that there were x-rays taken and that it's on his throwing hand. If it is an injury severity to the level that he cannot play for the remainder of the season for Missouri, and if it's a broken bone, generally 6 weeks, that will be the case. Without him, I am worried that Missouri might not be able to win a single game the rest of the year. Now, there's still winnable games on the schedule. You look at Mississippi State, who is, quite frankly, maybe the worst Power 5 team in the country right now. And you look at, that Oklahoma game that's coming up in 2 weeks. Both of those are, the Oklahoma game's at home. They're both beatable teams. I think there's a chance that Missouri can win some games the rest of the way, but it's going to be very, very difficult to do without Brady Cook. I would be very panicked if I was the Missouri coaching staff right now.
Yeah, I'm going to also hit the panic button. As far as, Missouri is 6-2, and I don't think there's ever been a 6-2 team that has this many concerns and problems, at least not that I can remember in recent memory. It's not only Brady Cook being hurt. It's not only the offensive line looking bad. It's all this other stuff. Like, I mean, you have one of the best players in the whole country in Luther Burden, who they just haven't used. They haven't. I mean, they tried to throw him some early screen passes against Alabama that did not work. It feels like the scheme is really just not anywhere close to what it was last year. They haven't gotten Luther Burden involved. Theo Weiss had a couple big games. He really hasn't been that involved. You have this stable of weapons on the offensive side of the ball that they really just haven't been able to unlock and use. And I think that that's really the most shocking part of the season to me, is that this offense was expected to be a top 10 unit in college football, and it really has not had one game where it has even come close to looking like a top 10 offense in college football. So, I mean, there's not a ton that has gone right. I'm definitely going to hit the panic button.
Yeah, I am as well. I think everyone that follows Missouri would be hitting the panic button right now. I mean, like Adam said and Davis both said as well, the rest of the season, if you have Drew Pine as your starting quarterback, it's not looking as easy of a schedule as for the rest of the year. And they even had J.R. Blood, who I don't even think any of the three of us knew who the third string quarterback was for Missouri until Saturday, off the top of our heads, really, because they don't list that on the depth chart or anything. And it ends up being J.R. Blood who got in the game to replace Pine for a drive. So, if it gets to that point, there's definitely a lot of concerns, and there is. Now, the defense has been very strong, and they've been pretty consistent, but you can't just have that on one side of the ball, as we know. And it's hard when you can't get those really great weapons to be able to sink and go through the field, like we talked about with Burden and Weiss, and even other players as well. I mean, it's just been very frustrating to watch, because you see that there's so much potential in that, but it's just not clicking. And at this point, with all the issues that they're having, I just don't know if I see it clicking for the rest of the season.
Yeah, the Tigers need a mid-season transfer portal, which does not exist, by the way, if Brady Cook is out for the rest of the year. The hand injury, that is still yet to be seen. Obviously, you saw it against Auburn. Brady Cook, if he is physically able to play a football game, he's going to play a football game. Eli Drinkwitz said that he would die on the field for Mizzou fans and for Mizzou as a whole. And obviously, Brady Cook, this is his last year. He's going to do everything he can to come back and play. But if your hand is broken, your hand is broken. And I think it's really hard to not hit the panic button here. But I will have a caveat to it. I am hitting the panic button, but I'm hitting the panic button on Missouri's playoff hopes. And I think we've clearly established that. I think you can go one of two ways now, right? I think you can change your mindset to say, we want to get to a good of a bowl game as possible and play for this team and build chemistry for next year and get younger guys involved in this offense that are going to have to be part of a revitalized Tigers for the 2025 season. I mean, you're talking about losing Luther Burden. You're talking about losing Brady Cook. You're talking about losing Theo Weiss. You're talking about losing Mookie Cooper. That's your whole receiving core. The things that made us so excited about coming into this year with this offense having the repetitions are the things that make next year so scary, because we just don't know. People fear what they do not know. And this could be a bright spot for the Tigers if we could figure out who are going to be the guys for next year. You talked about Daniel Blood at the receiver position, Mekhi Miller, some of these guys getting reps for them to see what they are like and who could be an alpha next year. Obviously, it's really hard to replace Luther, but I am hitting the panic button on 2024, but I think you can take some positives out of it for 2025. All right, before we wrap things up here, running close on time, I want to quickly go through our grades for the game, starting with Mr. Adam right here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be short. I'll be frank with it. Cook goes in with an injury, comes out with 2 injuries. The offense looks bad even when Cook is playing, as I said earlier in the show. I just don't think that there's anything positive that you can take away from this game. I understand that it was 6-0 when Cook left the game and the defense got tired. I don't have any concerns with the defense necessarily. I think this game got out of hand because of the offense, not because of the defense. However, you win games through offense, and Missouri doesn't have an offense right now. This is an F for me.
Yeah, a lot of the same stuff that we've already talked about. I won't take too long, but I have a D, and the only way that it's not an F for me is because the defense, I thought, kept them in this game for a lot longer than they should have been. Johnny Walker Jr. was really, really exciting. He posted his first multiple sack game in his career. It was 6-0 when Brady Cook went out. I want to keep harping on that. And the offense had the ball with a chance to go take the lead if they were able to somehow get down the field and score a touchdown. And on his first pass attempt of the day, Pine throws an interception that's returned back into Alabama territory, and they immediately score. So, the game got out of hand, like Adam said, because of the offense. I thought the defense was kind of the only positive takeaway you could have, so I have a D.
Mila?
Yeah, I'm echoing pretty much the same sentiments as Davis here. Obviously the defense is going to get tired whenever your quarterback is throwing 3 interceptions on 3 consecutive drives and the offense just can't move the ball in general. They're going to have to be on the field for a lot longer. With the offense, I just can't really take anything positive from it, to be so honest. So, yeah, I also gave them a D just because of the defense. I think they had a really good game, and they fought through all 4 quarters for as hard as they could, but that offense just tanked it for me.
D for defense for Amelia. I have a D as well. I'm giving a D plus, excuse me. I'm giving the Tigers some grace here on the plus. For everything previously stated, it was a rough game for the Tigers. But when you lose your starting quarterback, you lose a lot. And you lose kind of, you guys remember in that Auburn game when Brady Cook came back, the whole sideline, fire was lit underneath them. And you lose your hero, you lose your starter in Brady Cook, and everything kind of goes downhill from there. So I'm giving some grace on the D plus side. But yeah, rough game, tough to watch for the Tiger fans that kept the TV on. You're true sons. So we'll have to end it on that note, but we appreciate you staying with us for the Tiger Kickoff show right here. We got all the Missouri football action that you could think of. We'll be talking more about Cook's status coming up on Thursday. Actually, we have a really special episode planned for Thursday as well. It's Halloween on Thursday, so we're gonna break down some candy, some fun, some trivia, some games. I think Adam's gonna have a good time with one of the games we're planning. It's gonna be called What's Cooking, not Who's Cooking. What's Cooking? So
Adam's gonna like that.
Yeah, Adam's gonna love it. Adam's really gonna like it. But we'll have a lot of fun coming our way on Thursday. Maybe help us, forget about the Tigers' loss. I know Adam loves his bourbon, so maybe he'll use some of that. But we'll call it quits then. All right, y'all. Thank you once again for watching the Tiger Kickoff Show presented by the Columbia Missourian. One last time for Missourian crew: Adam Busack, Davis Wilson, Amelia Hurley. This is Jacob Siciliano wishing you a good Monday night.